The United States, in its early years, was a nation focused on expansion. It relentlessly pushed its borders westward, acquiring vast territories. This expansion, however, came at a cost. Native American populations were displaced and often met with violence. The issue of slavery further divided the nation, culminating in the devastating Civil War. Despite these internal conflicts, the United States emerged from this period with a strong sense of national identity and growing industrial might. The question of its role on the world stage, however, remained a subject of debate. Some, like Secretary of State William Seward, believed in an expansionist future. Seward envisioned an American empire stretching across the continent and beyond. Others held anti-imperialist views. They argued against foreign entanglements, believing that the United States should focus on its own affairs. This internal debate over its global role would continue to shape American foreign policy in the years to come. The Industrial Revolution played a significant role in shaping America's destiny. Technological advancements, particularly in manufacturing and transportation, fueled rapid economic growth. This newfound economic power provided the means for the United States to project its influence beyond its borders. The Industrial Revolution also led to the growth of cities and a more centralized federal government. This centralization would prove crucial as the United States began to pursue a more active role in international affairs. The late 19th and early 20th centuries marked a turning point in American foreign policy. The Spanish-American War of 1898 shattered the remnants of isolationism. The quick victory over Spain demonstrated America's growing military might and resulted in the acquisition of new territories. The United States gained control of Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines, expanding its reach across the Pacific. This war marked a shift towards a more interventionist foreign policy. The United States, now a colonial power, actively sought to protect its interests abroad, particularly in the Caribbean and Latin America. The acquisition of Hawaii, Wake Island, and Samoa further extended its influence in the Pacific. Control over the Panama Canal Zone gave the United States a strategic chokehold on trade routes between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. American intervention extended beyond territorial acquisition. The United States frequently intervened in the internal affairs of Latin American nations. Often, this involved military intervention to protect American business interests, or to install regimes sympathetic to American interests. The occupation of the Dominican Republic and the purchase of the Virgin Islands further solidified American dominance in the region. This period laid the groundwork for the United States' emergence as a global power, but it also sowed seeds of resentment and anti-American sentiment in parts of the world. World War II fundamentally reshaped the global order, and the United States emerged from the conflict as the world's dominant superpower. While the war devastated Europe and Asia, the United States, despite its involvement, emerged relatively unscathed and economically strengthened. Its industrial capacity had proven unmatched, supplying both its own forces and its allies. The war also demonstrated the devastating power of a new weapon, the atomic bomb, giving the United States an unprecedented military advantage. In the aftermath of the war, the United States played a key role in shaping the post-war world order. It was instrumental in establishing the United Nations, a forum for international diplomacy, with the goal of preventing future global conflicts. The United States also took the lead in creating the Bretton Woods system, which established the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. These institutions aimed to stabilize global currencies and promote economic recovery. The emergence of the Soviet Union as a rival superpower, however, cast a long shadow over this period. The ideological conflict between the capitalist West, led by the United States, and the Communist bloc, led by the Soviet Union, defined the Cold War era. This rivalry shaped international relations for decades, leading to proxy wars, military buildups, and a constant threat of nuclear annihilation. The United States adopted a policy of containment, aiming to prevent the spread of communism, which led to interventions in Korea, Vietnam, and elsewhere. The Cold War dominated international relations for nearly half a century. The United States, committed to containing communism, engaged in a global struggle with the Soviet Union. This rivalry extended beyond military confrontations to encompass economic competition, technological races, and ideological battles. The United States poured resources into bolstering its military and formed alliances like NATO to counter Soviet influence. It also engaged in covert operations, supporting anti-communist regimes and movements around the world. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 marked the end of the Cold War and left the United States as the sole superpower. The U.S. continued to actively manage global affairs. It intervened in regional conflicts, maintained a substantial military presence worldwide, and promoted democracy and free markets. However, new challenges emerged: the rise of globalization, the spread of terrorism, and the resurgence of authoritarianism all tested the United States' ability to effectively exert its influence. The election of Donald Trump in 2016 signaled a potential shift in American foreign policy. Trump's America First approach questioned the value of long-standing alliances and international institutions. He withdrew the United States from international agreements, imposed tariffs, and engaged in confrontational rhetoric with both allies and rivals. This approach challenged the post-World War II consensus on the United States' role as a global leader. The long-term implications of these developments are still unfolding. The United States remains a formidable power, but its global influence is facing challenges from rising powers like China. The future of its global role will depend on its ability to navigate a rapidly changing world order and address critical global issues while balancing its interests and responsibilities on the world stage.